Hello, fellow builders, and welcome back to the bench. We're on part 3 of our Warehouse 13 Tesla gun build and giveaway. And we're at the point where I'm just getting some little pieces going here, and we've got mail call. Well, not that kind of mail call, different kind. Anywho. Just to get started. So, where are we going? So, the Warehouse 13 Tesla gun. We are going to get it built. I'm making the pieces out of metal. And we're going to give away the resin kit, right? When last we left, I'm trying to make some of the pieces a little bit better. So, for the side piece, I've cut out my piece of plastic. This is going to have the gauge on it, and I didn't want to just glue the paper down and the gauge over it. I wanted to look like there was glass behind it, so I was going to run to the store, and grab some thin plexiglass. But for what little bit I needed, I just happened to have this box of magnets here, and I'm like, that's pretty thin plastic. So yeah, that's right, I cut my square out back of there, and the magnets still there. What's the point? Sometimes just use what you got. Anywho, let's get this glued in here and so it can start drying. But what I wanted to say, just using the old Elmer's. So I've been watching Warehouse 13 in the process of the build, and the show is just star-studded with sci-fi people from season 1. In the second episode of the series, Tricia Helfer, 6 from Battlestar Galactica, plays a federal agent, and Colonel Ty appears as Micah's dad, Michael Hogan. Michael Hogan, if you don't know, he was at a convention and he took a fall, and he's not doing very well. It's been a couple of years, and they've got like a GoFundMe or something for him. So if you're a fan of the sci-fi and you like some of his work, you ought to check that out. Help support. Then in season 2, both Kaylee from Firefly and Simon from Firefly both show up in an episode together. And the last episode I just watched was with Rene Auberjonois, the guy that played Odo on DS9. So it is just a star-studded sci-fi tour of fun. Stories are good too. Alright, so all I've done with this is just cut out my front piece, like I said I was going to do. Cut out the windows. Cut out my plastic. Glued that to the back of this. And then cut down my little gauges from the decal. And let's see. I can't see it. Not gonna be able to focus. We'll get there. We're gonna set this aside to dry. You know what? We're gonna sit you right there. So that's for one side. That's for the right side. The other side was for the control knob, the power level, and for that we had to get a vintage knob. I haven't opened this yet. I was saving this to open with you here so that we could see how well we did. So here we go. And this vintage knob was only $10. So if it's not right, no biggie. And I could have 3D printed one or something, but I wanted to capture the feel of what it was actually like to build a prop. Let's see. Okay. Alright, it's knurled. It's got the little point. The important thing is, alright, this is the template it's going to sit on. Well, let's give you a better view. Alright, so here's our knob. Looks pretty good. Ye oldie radio knob. It's the right scale, I do believe, for our decal. It might be a little bit too big, but this decal is too big to fit in this. So the question is, will it work in here? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So what the plan for now is kind of figure out what the center is going to be. Where does it need to, wrong side, this side, but they're the same. Kind of figure out where does this need to fall inside this area, and then what I'll use, drill myself a little center hole, and I will take, what do we got? Well, it's right here. Here's that piece. Doesn't that look good? Isn't it beautiful? Got that. And then for this side, got that. So all we have to do is make this look like this. And what we'll do to get it that way is I have some dry transfer letters that we can just put on here and just kind of figure out where we need to be. 1's there, 5's there, 3's there, straight up, and then just 2 and 4. So that shouldn't be that bad. I've already painted the corners out in black. Do that and do that, and we're good to go. We are good to go. It's coming along. Alright, now I just gotta find my dry transfer letters. Numbers and letters. You know what I mean. Okay, now we're working on this guy right here. Don't know what that is. I think it's a capacitor, but I wanted to make it out of metal. So, went down to Metal by the Foot, picked up this guy. Piece of brass, half inch diameter, because that's, I kind of guessed at it, $2.64. Alright. But after I started looking at it and working with it and measuring it a little bit and looking at more pictures, it looked too small. So I went back to Metal by the Foot. I got this guy. Okay? Piece of brass, $4.12. It's like 3/4 of an inch. Got it home, looked at it. It looked a little bit too big. So I figured that it's probably in between the two, so 5/8. I know they didn't have any more at Metal by the Foot, so I went online to see if I could have somebody cut me a piece. So now keep in mind, this piece is $4.12. To order one in 4 inches, 5/8 diameter would cost me $24. That being the case, we're going to try and make this work. We're going to try and turn this down, which shouldn't be too hard. So, but the first thing we got to do is get this in the drill press, because brass is fairly soft. It's a soft metal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this down to where I can get it in the drill press, make sure I can get it to turn true, and then I can start taking off as much material as I think I'm going to need. I'm going to try and base that off of this piece that's in the resin. It is 15 millimeters. Yeah, 15.86 millimeters. The 3/4 is 17.33 millimeters, but I have to get it at least that much of it into the drill press, and I need to get that down to 13 millimeters. So we're just gonna rough sand it off. We're just gonna flip you around and get that done. Okay, I know what you're going to say. Because if I were sitting where you are, I'd be saying the same thing. Dude, bolt down your drill press. When you're sitting there using it, it doesn't feel like it's moving around that much, but at 20 times the speed, yeah, it looks like it's dancing all around the workbench. But
we still got the work done. Now, here's the thing. That right there is a picture of the hero, not the hero prop, but the for sale version, the public version that you could get. You know, even the prop one probably didn't look quite that good, but it looked really good. Let's just say mine looks a little bit untuned. But we got our body, drilled a couple of holes in there. After some drilling and some tapping, we got it on there. And she looks pretty good. I'm not going to complain. I'm going to have to cut my screw down a little bit, but for the most part, I'm happy with this. I can't remember if I discussed it earlier, but there's a wire that goes into the top of that. And there is so I did an internet search for a screw with a hole down the middle. And I did find one. It's called a vented screw. And what it's used for, I do believe, one of the things, it's used in the vacuum applications. Like, so if you have a hole and you run the screw down and there's like an air pocket in the bottom of the hole that's the screw goes into, when you pull a vacuum, that air at the bottom, if it doesn't get pulled out, it creates a vacuum leak or something like that. I get it, but it's hard for me to explain. But that's what the hole's for. If there's any air pockets in the bottom of the hole, it'll suck the air up through the screw. And that, just one screw was probably like $15-20. And I'm a big proponent of use what you got. So I just found a screw that was a good enough size, got a good drill bit, and I just started drilling. So I drilled down into in between the crosshairs of the Phillips head enough to get a wire down in there. And so all I got to do now is figure out what adhesive am I going to use to keep the wire down in there. I could have, going down the path of use what you got. I don't know how to use a metal lathe, and I would love to learn. And I think if I had, I think the piece would have come out a little bit better. But I'm happy with the equipment that I'm using. My bench grinder was my dad's bench grinder. My drill press was my dad's drill press. So every time I use it is, just kind of tip of the hat to my dad. So what does that leave? Where are we now? Honestly, I don't know. I still have to figure out what the rubber part, how I'm going to apply the rubber and what that is. And the next part is the charging plug. I'm going to have to figure out where that goes on there, drill and tap a hole, and get that piece put on there. So that's the next project. Well, it was getting late, and I really didn't want to mess up this piece that I worked so hard on. So I went to bed. And I'm down to the last piece. Last tapped hole. This one piece. So I've got 2 holes tapped on the back of that. I've got one in the top, and now I'm working on this guy right here. So it's the last one, the last hole that needs to be drilled and tapped. And I'm very apprehensive about doing it, because if I mess it up, I got to start over. Now, the piece that I bought, so this, I cut it from this. So I've got another piece that I could use, but I have to start completely over from scratch. And I really don't want to do that. So I'm just going to take my time and just relax, drill a hole, and tap it. And hopefully that'll be it. That's it. So you've got the black part there, which is, I used a spacer. Just, I think it was a spacer from whenever you buy a TV, they give you all these different spacers for mounting it on the wall, mounting the bracket onto the back of it, and I save all those little things for just such an occasion. So that's what I did. I just got one of those little pieces of plastic and shaved it down. On the end of this is like a brass washer, and it seems fairly thick. I have gone to the store and bought some little brass washers, but the hole was through the center was really big, and the washer itself was really thin. And I'm like, well, I could double it up, and even doubled up, it's not as thick as I would like it, and you could tell it's doubled up. So I had this little L bracket. I have no idea what it was from. It's right color, you know. And so what I did was I took it and cut it down and made my own little washer. Sanded it to the right, so it's the thickness that I want. It's the diameter of the spacer. I've gotten the hole drilled, and so I'm just going to use, to get the squareness there, I'm going to use a square head 1/4 20 bolt, which is back to where we were starting, drilling and tapping this guy. We can do this. We can do it. Just relax, be calm. We're going to do it. So I'm going to do it. When I come back, I'll either be elated or frustrated. One of the two, so we'll see. Okay. Now that I'm sitting where I'm sitting now going, okay, that wasn't that bad. Because it worked. Had it not worked, I wouldn't have been so happy. But it did. What we got going on here? The point, after all said and done, is nobody likes to have to go back and redo all the work that you did. It's frustrating. But we did get it done. Make sure I figure out which screws are going which holes. And as soon as I get this in here, I can show it to you. But are we happy? Yes, we're happy. Only downside is I think I've gone as far as I can go for the day. There you go. That one there. That one there. Get this top one here. And we are so close to being ready to do a final assembly. It's not funny. And then we can pick our winner. Okay. This is what we ended up with. Up there. Look at that. Now, granted, it's not. You look at it like that. I didn't get it perfectly straight. So I have to work on my, I gotta work on my drill press skills. Because as much leveling and measuring as I did, I was still kind of eyeballing it. But, get a lot of shine off of that. I think it looks good. So we're going to call this mission accomplished for today. Like I said, that puts us one step closer to being able to complete this and give this away on the giveaway. We also, don't forget, we have our shirts and sweatshirts and hoodies and coffee mugs and over there, stuff like that on TeePublic, so you don't have to wear a Pans jacket. I was just having an idea. I need to come up with a t-shirt about Pan. But it's time for you to go build something. It's a great feeling when you have some difficulties and you don't know where you're going and you come out. I'm not going to say I'm smelling like a rose, but I'm happy with the end result. I am going to have to grind the square tip down. It's going to be painted black so it matches that. But from where we got started, this is a good place to just set everything down and pause and think about where we're going next. You can go build something of your own now. It's not too late. It's the first day is daylight saving time. So use that extra hour of love it or hate it. Love it or hate it. Use that extra hour to your advantage before we have to start cutting grass. But until then, have fun, be safe, go build something.
Pew 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 pew.